What is up? Welcome back to Kill Rock Radio here on KillRockRadio.com. My name is Rocky. I am back up in this motherfucker. Getting ready for Halloween. I'm trying to get in the fucking, in the Halloween groove. I can't quite get into it because, of course, down here in Texas, it's still hot. We're finally to the point that we have like cool evenings, but god damn, man, it's still like 80 something during the day, which, you know, I'm sure there are people that are in like deep freeze already who are like, fuck you. But god damn, can a motherfucker get some sweater weather? Anyways, I'm trying to get in the Halloween mood. So I think what I'm going to do today is kind of talk about scary bands, maybe my favorite scary bands and shit like that to kind of get myself in the groove. There's not actually a ton going on in terms of new news, but there has been a little bit of evolution to some of the stories we've talked about on the previous episode. The whole Linkin Park new singer thing, the story of Dirty Dick Dave Grohl and all that other shit. And so we'll go into that. Anyways, like I said, I'm trying to get in the Halloween groove. And of course, a big part of that has always been music, at least in my life. Halloween is like the party ass holiday. Fuck New Year's Eve, fuck all that. I'm talking about Halloween because as far back as I can remember, Halloween was the most badass night. Because of course, when you're a kid, it starts out, you have the costumes, which of course is a blast. Like days and days and days of candy binging. That's the best. And then from there, you transition into like your late teen, early adult years. From there, it becomes like the Halloween house party because that's where you're going to get hookups happening all over. Because what happens is, of course, all Halloween costumes for women are sexy. It's the sexy everything. Sexy Hamburglar, sexy Yu-Gi-Oh! I've seen sexy Ninja Turtle. It's shit that there should not be sexy versions of. With guys, of course, you could go goofy if you want to try and be like the funny guy. Or you could go sexy, which for dudes is very hard. I mean, at this point, you could be the Crow. The Crow is a go-to hot guy thing. So, if there's a bar that has a really good prize for a Halloween costume contest, that's a thing you want to go to because there's going to be just like, you want to talk about sexy Ninja Turtle. Don't just go to anyone, because if you go to one where like there's not a good prize, there's just going to be like drunk dudes up there. But if there's something where it's like $500 prize or some shit like that, motherfuckers are going to start pulling out the stops. But like I said, when you're talking about a Halloween house party, the music is just, it must be on point. And it can't just be normal shit. Don't just put on your regular jams. It's not a regular day. You need Halloween jams. Do people not give a fuck as much? Because of course, when you look at scary bands, almost like from the 90s and back. So if you got to start with the godfathers of heavy metal, Black Sabbath. And I know Tony Iommi, the guitarist for Black Sabbath, he had said when crafting their style, we talk these days about finding your niche. And this was what Tony Iommi figured out. He said people pay to go see horror films. People pay to be scared. So what if we did that with music? And then, of course, Ozzy Osbourne is your lead singer. So, I mean, what the fuck? The internet wasn't really a thing back then. So you would just get all this weird word of mouth. Of course, Ghost. If you go with earlier Ghost albums, people would always make the joke that it sounds like Scooby-Doo music. It kind of does. But that's fun at a Halloween party. So you get a lot of that older Ghost shit. Get the 7 Inches of Satanic Panic. Get that thing, just put that whole motherfucker on there, because that shit is made to sound like Scooby-Doo music, and that's a fun time. Ghost is so fun. I don't know how anybody can have any beef with those motherfuckers whatsoever. If you haven't seen their, it's called Right Here, Right Now. It's their concert film. Go check that thing out. If you have any questions as to like what the Ghost thing is, first off, there's a lot of people who are kind of like legitimately scared of ghosts because there is this element of Satan worshiping. Like the way that I mentioned Ozzy doesn't have any overt satanic shit. Ghost is rife with overt Satan worshiping shit. And to the point that you kind of question, is this a joke? Is it real? Honestly, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit what your religion is. You can be in any fucking religion. I don't care. As long as you're kicking out the jams. If you're kicking out the jams, you can worship whoever the fuck you want to worship. I don't give a shit. But yeah, Ghost, they may be satanic. They may be satanic. I don't know. I can't tell you one way or the other. Some people have told me it's a joke. If you need to tell yourself that to make it okay, then do that shit. If you get into the a little bit of the later stuff, it's almost like it becomes almost like 80s, like perfectly crafted 80s prog rock. It's great. Just all Ghost. Put all Ghost in your shit. If you're looking for Halloween vibes, look no further than hard rock and heavy metal. Beyond just like the style of the music, obviously it's aggressive, there's the darkness. Some of the singers might refer to darker subject matter than you might hear in a lot of other bullshit music that's out there in the mainstream. But a lot of times it's like the stories behind it that are really dark and interesting. If you look at the history of rock and heavy metal, there are a lot of stories that just, if you were to write them down, they would almost read like a like a horror film, or like an old like a story you would tell kids around a campfire. Take the story of like Mayhem, for example. If you search Mayhem, there's a YouTube video that goes like really deep into the story of Mayhem, and they break it down era by era and how it leads to the inevitable terrible end of the band. So it all goes back to a band named Venom. Now, this band Venom, they put out an album that would give birth to a genre of music. That album was called black metal. Out there in the Nordic region, I believe around Sweden, if not in Sweden, there was a guy, his name was Euronymous. That wasn't obviously his real name. He starts a band called Mayhem. Like, it's straight up DIY. Like, if you were making a film, it would be the montage of the kids, you know, they're getting their instruments and they're learning as they go. And I can imagine some of their early shows were probably just total pig fuck situations. So that would have been fun and interesting. So at the beginning of their career, they almost sound like a punk band in a way. And but they're getting darker and more metal as time goes and as they're learning and as the scene is developing. Once again, you got to think this is a time before the internet. But eventually, the band Mayhem is taken to a whole nother level when they get hooked up with a new singer who goes by the name Dead. I don't know Dead's real name either, but Dead was a little Swedish kid who loved death. They said this motherfucker was so in love with death, he loved everything about it, he would get dead birds. Dead bird, which I assume, I don't know if he was finding dead birds or if he was killing birds. And then he was sleeping with them under his bed because he enjoyed the smell of death.
I mean, I guess I'm a pretty sick guy.
He was the most dark, goth-ass little Swedish teenager you could have ever found. And on the strength of a previous band he had been in, he gets into Mayhem, which is considered like the big black metal band, considering there's really not any. So this kid, he's a strong black metal vocalist. He's obviously living the gimmick. It's so sincere that it sort of captures the imagination of the local scene, and everybody is into this new lead singer, Dead. Now, Euronymous, despite being the original member of the band, the guy who came up with the concept for the band, now Dead has come and usurped him. So on one level, Euronymous was very jealous of him. On the other hand, he was fascinated with how fucking legit Dead was. He was one of the OGs of like cutting himself on stage, hurting himself on stage. And the other dudes in the band and people in the crowd who were like generally normal people would be like, hey man, what the fuck? You're stabbing yourself? What are you doing?
Are you insane?
So while everybody reasonably is trying to do that for Dead, Euronymous is like, no, let this guy do it, because on some level he hates him, So he doesn't give a fuck if he hurts himself, but also he really appreciates the legitimacy that it's bringing to the band and the word of mouth, because as I said, this is pre-internet. Everything is word of mouth. If you put on a show and there's 7 motherfuckers, you better rock those 7 motherfuckers so that they can go and bring their friends back or tell people, holy shit, you can't believe this kid, he's on stage, he's cutting himself with bottles and, goddamn, you got to go see. So Euronymous is the one motherfucker who's like pushing him. Yeah, no, bro, that was awesome. Fucking hurt yourself. So they have the awful fucking idea of living together. Although I would guess in those days, it's not like you could just go get a regular ass roommate. Imagine you're just some normal ass dude and you move in with this guy. He's like, yeah, no, call me dead. Don't worry about the smells coming from my room. It's just dead carcasses that I sleep with. Hell no, to the no. No, thank you. I doubt you're going to be able to keep a fucking roommate in that situation. So these dudes, maybe out of necessity, they all end up living together. This is, once again, the Nordic region. There's not a fucking thing going on out there except gorgeous, gorgeous scenery. So they're living out in fucking, in the woods, in a cabin and shit like that. So one day, the other dudes, they go into town and they leave Dead by himself. At which point Dead writes a suicide note and he fucking kills himself. Euronymous gets back. He sees Dead there, dead. And he's like, fuck yes. That's awesome.
That's what you get for fucking with me.
So he writes his boys, all the boys in the band. He's like, oh, guys, Dead has done the most fantastic thing. He killed himself. So instead, and then when Euronymous finds Dead's body, he doesn't even call the fucking cops immediately. Normally, if you go away, you come back, you find your friend's dead body. The guy killed himself. You'd be like, oh God, please, police, somebody call the cops. So instead, Euronymous took a bunch of pictures of Dead's corpse. And then I don't even know how the fuck this is even possible, but this is supposedly verified by Euronymous and members of the band. They say Euronymous took some of Dead's bones and made a necklace. I'm assuming maybe finger bones. Maybe he took a finger off.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
But when the cops show up, somebody had to come out and clear this fucking body out. Nobody questions. Like, okay, let's say it's obvious he killed himself, right? Nobody fucking questions that like a finger's missing. Like, hey guys, where's the finger? What happened? Like, what if the guys ate it? Like, what if there's fucked up cannibalism going on and these guys just got the taste for delicious human meat? How do you get human meat? You got to kill more motherfucking people. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, nobody questions that this fucking guy, he's dead. He's missing limbs or fingers or whatever the fuck they took off to make a necklace from his bones. For all I know, in Sweden, that's an okay thing. Maybe they show up, they're like, hey man, he's missing fingers. Oh dude, I had to make a necklace to remember him. Oh, okay. And you take the fucking corpse away. I don't know how it is over there. Here, if you showed up to a crime scene and the guy obviously killed himself, but he's missing some fingers, you'd have some questions. Anyways, so after Dead is gone, even though if you look at what his suicide note said, and I mean, there was a book published of letters that he had sent to friends back home and shit. It was clear the guy had every intention of taking Mayhem and making them a much more popular band and making a living at being in that band. However, Euronymous was like just the most hardcore elitist. Everyone in the metal world, you've crossed paths with an elitist. Imagine the boss level elitist. That is Euronymous from Mayhem. He takes Dead's death and uses Dead as like a martyr. And once again, there's not internet and shit like that, so you can't verify anything. So the details Euronymous gives you are essentially what you have to roll with. So Euronymous comes in, he says, yeah, guys, Dead, he was really, really bummed out at how commercial and bullshit this scene has become. And in the ultimate sacrifice, he killed himself so that the black metal scene can fucking get their shit together. So then Euronymous goes on, and once again, you talk about metal elitists. This is the most like 8th grade metal elitist move you could pull. He basically writes a list of commandments for black metal. These are the rules you must follow to take part in the scene, whether you're in a band or you're simply a fan. These rules applied to the fans. They said you could not be a fan of black metal unless you follow these rules. Rule 1, you must worship the devil. There is no, if you don't worship the devil, you are not black metal, period. It kind of works because on some level, first off, you have the martyr of Dead to say, man, that's how legit these guys are. This guy fucking killed himself. Like, okay, obviously, if you're a band, you release an album, you want to sell it to as many people as possible. The more people buy it, the more money you make, and you can, you know, put that money into the next album and so on and so forth. In this case, Euronymous was like, yeah, we got a new album coming out. You know, really only like, I can only identify maybe like 30, 40 people who really should be allowed to own it. If some of you other guys get it, you can, but you're a fucking idiot. I think it's bullshit. Only 30 motherfuckers are cool enough to hear this. And of course, the reaction is everybody's like, well, I want to be cool enough to listen to black metal. They're like, well, the rules are you got to worship the devil. You got to like burn down churches and shit. So out in that area, people start burning down churches and killing motherfuckers. It becomes a real thing. The black metal scene like starts going to war with the church essentially and just causing shit.
Form of music, they say, has disturbing satanic overtones. It's called black metal music and encourages devil worship and the desecration of churches.
And they did these things essentially as like PR. They did it like a publicity stunt. Oh, look, we burnt this church down and we killed a guy, but you know, it's because we love black metal. And so that the cops of the area have to start busting down the scene and shit. But with all the money and stuff Euronymous has made, you know, through the band, through Mayhem, he starts a record store in the area that becomes, of course, the epicenter of the scene because it's a record store that sells black metal records. And so all the people in the scene hang out around there. So the thing is, Euronymous essentially gets his pick of all the best dudes in the scene to put into his band Mayhem, and he's able to build a better band. He continues to live off of Dead's martyrdom. The pictures that he took of Dead's corpse, they actually made the album cover. So that album cover, it's not just like, oh, check it out, it's some scene they set. That is that motherfucker's real corpse. That is the scene of his death. Those are the pictures Euronymous took in the moment. It's fucked all the way up. So then Euronymous, he continues on with Mayhem. The albums are actually selling thousands. And for those days, it's a huge success. Now, the thing that happens when you start a movement, this is inevitable. Somebody will come in and they are so devoted to the cult that they decide that you are a fucking sellout and you're not as badass as you used to be. And that happens in the form of Varg Vilkernes, I think his name is. And Varg was one of these dudes, he would like try to brag to people that like, oh yeah, I burned down churches. You know, that was me, dude. I did that for black metal. So, you know, and he would like tell people he had killed a guy in this other town and he had all these details. So people seemed to believe him, but then come to find out none of that was true. He just sort of knew about the story. Once again, it's pre-internet, so it's in another town. Nobody would have any way to verify. So within the scene, people were like, man, this guy's legit. He has burned down churches. He has killed motherfuckers. He does worship Satan. He can play an instrument. He's ready to go. He should be in Mayhem. So Varg becomes the bassist for Mayhem. And he's totally disillusioned with Euronymous, and he feels Euronymous is full of bullshit. He publicly is calling him out talking mad shit.
Euronymous had made a complete fool of himself, and most of us agreed that he was a damn wimp and an idiot. As far as I was concerned, he didn't exist anymore. For some months, this dislike for Euronymous spread in the metal scene as more and more people understood what a moron he was. He believed it was my fault that people lost their respect for him. In a sense, he was right, as I certainly didn't keep my opinions a secret. Further, when the media wrote all that crap about me, it made him feel less important. Suddenly, he was no longer the main character in the hardcore metal scene. As he saw it, that too was my fault.
And this is where the whole thing gets gray. What we know is that Euronymous, he heard all that shit that Varg was talking. And so Euronymous is setting up a situation where he can have a confrontation with Varg, who once again has been talking much shit. So it's under the guise of like, hey man, you got to come over here and sign this contract or something. So fucking Varg and his homie, they drive out to where Euronymous is, and Varg claims that when he goes up in there, it's just him and Euronymous. Euronymous attacks him. Varg claims that he then acts in self-defense and stabs Euronymous.
Suddenly he got up trying to get his knife in the kitchen. And I thought, well, if he's going to have a knife, I'm going to have a knife. So I had a pocket knife, this small pocket knife. I got it up and prevented him from getting into the kitchen. So he didn't manage to get his knife.
You know, when it comes to dealing with the cops and shit, really his claim is just like, hey man, self-defense. The thing about Varg, as we've established with him like taking credit for these church burnings and killing a guy, Varg likes to bullshit. He likes to talk. He's very into impressing people. A lot of the elements of this story are like this is shit that it's really gonna hit home with like sophomores in high school that are in their first band and shit. Cause this is the type of shit that happens where people take it way, way, way too seriously and they don't have the maturity to deal with very basic situations. So even though Varg has a very strong case for self-defense, he goes on and tells people he's bragging essentially about killing Euronymous. He says, okay, in that moment, Euronymous attacks him and then Varg stabs Euronymous. Varg says that in that moment, Euronymous tried to run away to save his own life. And that Varg decided in that moment, if you're going to have the balls to try and kill me, and then you run when I get the upper hand, you know what, motherfucker? You're soft, SAWFT, and you deserve to die.
His cowardice had made me angry, and I saw no reason to let him live. Not when he had showed his intent to kill me. Had I let him live, I would only let him have another attempt at my life later on.
Chases Euronymous down, stabs him a bunch. Euronymous continues to run away, even though he's been stabbed so much. He continues to run, and that just infuriates Varg even more. How dare you run when I continuously stab you over and over again? So Varg eventually, runs down Euronymous and fully stabs him to death.
So I finished Åsed off. I stabbed him in the skull, so he died immediately. And I followed the other guy, but he ran to the car. So I managed to calm him down. He gave me the car keys, I opened the car, and we drove back.
I mean, everything's worth doing. We're doing right.
So after snitching on himself essentially for online cred, my boy Varg and one of the other members of the band who was there ended up getting arrested. And I believe Varg did something like 20 years and his accomplice did something like 8. So the moral of the story is that you should not brag about shit online for internet clout, even though you don't think anyone's paying attention or maybe you think they won't tell. My old buddy Varg Vilkernes is here to tell you that clout doesn't amount to much when your punk ass is in jail. It's almost like a Julius Caesar type thing, except with like the most petty, shitty metal elitists there are. And to this day, the fact that there's so much actual death involved, people continue to discover Mayhem, like just through like the craziness. I still see that dead picture, the picture of the former singer dead. I still see that shit referenced like once every few months, which, you know, for something that happened in a like super obscure sect of heavy metal, which is already obscure in and of itself, super niche, I still see that shit. I'm sure a lot of people see it and have no fucking clue what they're looking at. But, you know, if you're trying to get into get your wheels rolling for Halloween, that's some good shit. Don't put any Mayhem in your fucking Halloween party mixtape, because it's going to stop the party. It's black metal. It's, you know, what you think of when you think of black metal. And there are like certain just kind of creepy, scary sounding songs you can get in there. There's a lot of shit off of 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral, that you could throw on there that are fucking awesome. Twin Temple, that's a new band. That could actually rock the shit out of your Halloween house party, because it's almost like doo-wop music, but it is highly satanic. And it's all about like having group sex and, you know, ritualistic satanic shit, and just get people in the groove of evil and getting shit done. Don't weigh your shit down with just real heavy evil shit, because it's not gonna appeal to everyone. You want stuff that even if they're there at your party and they're not even into metal necessarily, they can at least identify the groove and dance and have fun. A Halloween party is about fun. All debauchery is on the table, and it's really the best time of year. I hope you guys have a fucking fantastic Halloween. Be safe out there. Don't fuck anybody over. Be cool. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into some of your comments. So first, we've got some reaction to that story about Corey Taylor of Slipknot. His wife publicly called out a lady named Violet Mayugba, who's in another band, a pretty cool band herself, called Destroy Boys. You know, it's not like Slipknot. It's more punky. But anyways, she said, Violet, you trying to fuck my man.
You're a cocksucker.
And so there's been some reactions to that. First, my homie Peter GM Red, whatever the fuck. Corey should have set her straight, not the wife. In my opinion, the wife sounds extremely insecure. How to conduct yourself in this industry as a woman? Industry has zero to do with it. You either act like a woman or not. Clearly she didn't. And I assume we're talking about Violet not being like a woman. So really what's happening there, it's interesting because it seems like Corey Taylor's wife, Alicia, she didn't want to like openly say, hey, bitch. That's something I've noticed with younger people. And not that Corey Taylor and his wife are essentially like my contemporaries, but when I see young people arguing and fighting and shit, like nobody wants to judge. And so there's these very open-ended things like, you can't be mad at somebody because, you know what, she's got a problem. She's got low self-esteem. That's why she tried to fuck your man or whatever. And now you have an excuse. Now it's like, well, you know what? Here, I'm going to try to help her. I'm going to try to be a friend to her. Dude, she's openly trying to fuck your man. She knows he's married. It'd be one thing if Corey Taylor's out there. Let's say people don't know he's married as much and he's bullshitting and he's lying to women and he's fucking them. Then if you're Alicia and you bust him doing that, you can't be mad at Violet. She didn't know. But in this case, Violet fucking knows and she's trying to fuck him. And when you complain about it to your homies, they say, oh, that Violet, she be fucking everybody's man. So if you have a woman like that, why are you going to try to go be her friend and like finesse her? Say, hey, bitch.
This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
I mean, that's where you ended up having to go anyway. You could have cut out the middleman. I guess I feel like people want to feel like they at least tried to be good. In this world, we're so scared of everyone and we feel like the world is such an evil, vile place. Most people are good.
That was the biggest load of crap I've ever heard.
Most women, if they find out a guy's married, that's a deal breaker. That's a non-starter, as they say. But there are some chicks out there. They see a fucking wedding ring on your finger and it's clean up aisle my panties.
Me so horny.
And when you have somebody like that, obviously they've got some sort of mental problem. Otherwise they wouldn't put themselves in this situation. But that's not your problem. It's okay to go up there and say, hey, bitch, get the fuck away from my family, dude.
You're entering a world of pain.
So, I mean, of course she's insecure. You know, Violet, people try to act like Violet Mayugba is gross or something. Violet Mayugba is totally cute. She's very talented. I could understand why guys would want to fuck her. So if I'm married to a dude and here's this hot chick trying to come fuck my dude, it's a reason to be insecure. You can stand there and be a bad bitch while she comes and steals your fucking man, or you can do what Alicia eventually had to do, which is lay the hammer down on a bitch. Thank you very much, Pete. Let's move on. My boy David Blank 420 says, I've seen metal chicks versus ghetto chicks. As good old JR would say, it was a slobber knocker. That's a very legit thing. I grew up down on the border, so there were like some pretty ghetto, we would call them bachucas. Out in the world, people would know cholas. They were gang members. And they were pretty fucking ghetto, and they would have to fight, and those bitches were mean. But metal chicks were not to be fucked with. Like, metal chicks, they're not super, super girly. Like, they tend to have like an edge to them. And metal chicks, like, sweethearts. It really, same with these ghetto chicks. I ended up hooking up with a chola, like, back in my day. And she was like, man, once you got past the chola thing, what a sweetheart. Metal chicks, cholas, they want a hug, motherfucker. But if you just walk up and hug them, they will beat the fuck out of you. Just saying. But when those two would cross, I could imagine that would be a very serious ass throwdown, because metal chicks can fight, cholas can fight. That sounds like some bum fights type shit. Like, if somebody was like, oh, I recorded it, I'd say, oh, that's terrible. But I would absolutely watch with bated breath, if you will. Next, my homie Floral Sun says, the truth of the matter, if someone can just be stolen from you, they were never yours. Just let these things sort themselves out, even if it sucks. Floral Sun, I love you, but that's fucking loser talk.
Fuck that!
Because here's the reality. Corey Taylor is a dude in is he late 40s, early 50s? I'll give him credit. Let's say he's in his mid 40s, right? You're out on the road. One of the chicks from the other bands, 24 years old, she comes up and she is like actively trying to fuck.
You're not interested in sex?
I said it on the last episode, I'll say it again. In that situation, if you're really trying to be faithful, you got to get out of the situation. If you stick around, some shit could really happen, regardless of what your situation is at home, because your hormones get in charge, takes over your brain, you get into an evil dick fuck fog, and you can't see. It's like the Incredible Hulk. When he hulks out, he doesn't know what the fuck he did. Once he's laying there, his clothes all fucked up and stretched out, he says, God damn it, what did I do? And you have to tell him about, you see the wreckage and, oh my God, you knocked a fucking children's hospital over. Like, the regret. That's how you are when your dick gets involved. I'm absolutely positive that Corey Taylor loves his family. Just like Dave Grohl, I am positive Dave Grohl loves his family, his wife, the whole fucking deal, his whole life. And you'd say, why would you risk it? It's because you don't even know, man. You don't even know. The only thing you can do is run away. You got to be like Euronymous when Varg stabs you in the gut. You say, motherfucker, I'm out. I got to go. Because if I stick around, I'm going down. That's when your eyes go green and your clothes get tight and, you got a boner. So it's, that's what I'm saying. You could try to be above it, but if you see it happening, either just get ready for your relationship to end or do something about that shit. So anyways, my advice, thank you. Speaking of evil dick, we get into dirty dick Dave Grohl. The latest news on this story, before we get into your comments, is that Dave Grohl and his wife, though they have been seen out in public without their wedding rings on, both of them, and apparently the wife, she's got some hot tennis instructor. Dude, there is an epidemic. This has been going on since the 80s. That's a gigolo move. People, you want to talk about a thought job? If you're like a personal trainer, if you're a fucking tennis trainer, if you're a jiu-jitsu trainer, bro, that's just a cover to go fuck chicks. You're a gigolo, my man. Look at Prince Harry and then look at his riding teacher or Diana's riding coach. She was riding him, that's for fucking sure. And riding him so hard, she got all that nut out. Oh my God, that must have been fantastic. R.I.P. Lady Di. Anyways, the wife was out with her hot tennis instructor, and there's rumblings that maybe she fucked him. If you're Dave Grohl, really, you just gotta grin and bear it. You're basically like in a swingers relationship until you can get this figured out. But apparently they are going to try and do some therapy and see if maybe they can repair the marriage. And that would be cool. Like, Dave Grohl's got 3 kids and now obviously this other one, but he's got the 3 girls. It is going to be so fucking hard. He has impacted those 3 girls so hard. Could you imagine how that's going to affect their relationships going forward? That so publicly, I mean, I think one of them is like 18, one of them's like 16. That it's the worst possible age for it to become worldwide news that your dad is out with a dirty dick knocking chicks up, fucking groupies without condoms. Come on, bro. If you're gonna be fucking groupies, understand you don't know these chicks. Just wear a condom, dude. It's not as cool. I get you, but you can't bring that shit home. You can't bring that shit home. Anyways, my homie Sick Productions, he says some people just shouldn't get married. Most likely she will leave him, and it ain't the first time he did it, and she knows it. Firsthand, I believe she's gonna leave, take the kids, and get paid most likely. And bro, that's probably why Dave Grohl's fighting so goddamn hard. She's been with him decades. They have 3 kids and he cheated. I don't give a fuck if he has a prenup. That's a prenup buster, bitch. He's going to have to give her everything. If he wants to keep his cash, he's going to have to be kissing that ash. Yeah, if he can't convince her to stick around, it's his ass, dude. He's going to have to be touring till he is fucking 75 years old. Anyways, my homie Nemo said, I honestly don't care about his private life at all. I only care about the quality of his music. It's crazy how we put people like Dave on a pedestal, impose unreasonable standards on them, and get angry when they don't live up to those standards from people he doesn't know or would ever even meet. How many people are currently having an affair right now? How many have had a child from an affair? How many of them should be held to the exact same standards we in society impose on them? I wish people would grow up, keep their noses and opinions out of everyone's business, and just enjoy the fucking music. That's what he's famous for, and that's the only thing that should matter to us. Now, Nemo, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm a big fan of separating the artist from the art. I don't believe that, like, I saw people out there that were taking the Dave Grohl thing like it was some shit he had done to their family. You know what I'm saying? Like, these online fan cults, they get to the point where it really is a cult. The famous person at the top of it becomes a deity-like person. That's why, like, Taylor Swift, she gets a new boyfriend. Everybody gets to give their fucking opinion on who her boyfriend should be. Or, you know, Lana Del Rey marries some weird fucking, you know, a trailer park dude, and everybody gets to be like, well, he's not good enough to fuck you. If she wants to fuck him, that's her deal. You're just a fucking fan. You're just somebody who likes her music. You don't get a say. But at the same time, for all of us fans who don't get a say, it doesn't mean we can't chatter about that shit. Isn't it interesting? And also, Dave Grohl put that shit on his social media. Like, I understand he probably just did that to get in front of the baby mama who was gonna go to the media. I'd almost let her go to the fucking media. I'd call her bluff and say, you know what, bitch, unless Dave Grohl has done some fucked up shit to her, or maybe she has some info that, I don't know, I'd let her go, because it makes her look like an asshole. Because for the most part, people they get when you're, the quote unquote rock star and you're out on the road. As I said, you have to think of the reality of it. You're by yourself. All these super hot chicks are throwing ass at you. And most men cannot stand up to that level of temptation. And I don't judge Dave Grohl for that. I don't think he's a bad guy because he did that. If you thought he was a cool guy a year ago, nothing has changed. There's just this thing. He's a dude. You love that song, My Hero? He's ordinary. That's the whole point of it. Even though he is your hero, he is but a man. When he sees some juicy titties, he's gotta glaze them up. When he sees a fucking 32-year-old in some tight jeans, damn, he gets a boner, and he's gotta knock it up. He's gotta smash it raw dog. That's how Dave Grohl gets down. But, he's trying to repair his family, so it's a very serious situation. But at the same time, all the rest of us plebes, we can fucking talk about it. It's interesting. And it's interesting, in fact, because as you say, it's a thing that happens. It's a thing that really happens out there. It's relatable on some level. Next, we've got some comments about the Linkin Park thing. As we had talked about, Linkin Park has replaced Chester Bennington with Emily Armstrong. Some people had beef. Her family is a big deal in the Church of Scientology, and she did support that 70s show star, fucking Hyde, whatever his name was, Danny Masterson. She went and supported him when he was up on trial for all his various rapes, of which he was guilty of. And so people are like, of all people to replace Chester Bennington, a Scientologist who doesn't believe in, going to get your mental health issues fixed. It basically fix it yourself, bitch. And then on top of it, Chester Bennington, who had been sexually abused in his youth, to have someone who would defend a sex abuser, that's a real shitty thing to do. So, in the aftermath of it, nobody is questioning Emily Armstrong's talent. I mean, some people say it sounds shitty, maybe it's not your style, whatever. She is a rock solid hard rock vocalist. If you've got her on your team, the vocals, that shit is locked down. She's good. But, there's just been a lot of chatter about it because people get emotionally connected to these groups, as we were talking about with the Dave Grohl thing. So first, my girl Jody Sullivan says, it's only the ones who are in the, oh, that's not Pantera now club. Oh, Kerry King trying to sound like Slayer when he is actually the sound of Slayer. And they are all under 25 voicing their uneducated opinion on metal bands that were not even here in the 80s and 90s. Chester would have loved this. In the aftermath of Linkin Park sort of revealing Emily Armstrong as the new singer, Chester Bennington's son came out and spoke out against it. I believe various family members of Chester. But the bottom line is nobody can speak for Chester as to what he would have liked or would not have liked. I would imagine if Chester wasn't around, he wouldn't like anyone replacing him in Linkin Park. He would want to just be the Linkin Park singer. So yeah, nobody could speak on what Chester would or would not like. These shows are just pure nostalgia. There's a lot of people who despise nostalgia. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I got fucking Masters of the Universe toys on my wall and shit. I'm no one to shit on nostalgia. So, and I've been to those Pantera shows, and it really does feel fucking fantastic to be surrounded by Pantera fans, and when the songs come on, everyone knows every word. Everyone screams them. It's like a group therapy on some level. And I know fucking Emily Armstrong doesn't believe in therapy, but that's essentially what it is. I saw motherfuckers crying at the Pantera show. I saw people fucking hugging each other. And you could shit on it, but you can't say it wasn't a real thing. And you can't say it didn't help those fans get some sort of closure, or I don't know, whatever the fuck they may need. You know, these songs mean so much to people. I don't question anyone who wants to go to these shows. My homie Cinephile of Many says it's basically that Family Guy sketch with Peter in the treehouse. No girls allowed is really what it boils down to. Not the rape trial, not the Scientology, not her voice. It's all really deep down because a girl is stealing the band from the most insecure of fans. That's an interesting take. You know what I've noticed is really a lot of incel-y types are jumping on because they think Emily Armstrong is hot and like they're white knighting for her. So there's like a lot of heavy defense from Emily Armstrong simps. She's very pretty. I get it. Like there's a lot of people who feel like if you replace someone, you need to replace them with someone that's just like them. And they're always going to feel that way. So if you bring in something different, I'm sure there's some element, because I've seen this online where people feel it's some sort of woke move, but it's like, dude, isn't Linkin Park fairly like woke music? I don't fucking know. But yeah, so it's an interesting take. I'm sure there is that element out there, but if anything, I see more simping than anything. My homegirl, Lana Vicadorothea, god damn, you got a name, girl. She says, it's not about hate. They will never be the same and everyone knows it. One thing I saw online, and this is sort of an evolution of the story, is the Reddit community and some of the other online communities. A lot of the Linkin Park fans were complaining that essentially the sites were being overrun with, I don't know if it's bots. There was some sort of concerted effort to basically ratio the negative comments with excessive positive comments about the new singer and about the new music. The new music, if you listen to it, it's fine. I get what people are saying, that it is a little sort of like generic alternative, but whatever. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Everywhere you would post your comments about Linkin Park was being overcome with what seemed to be farmed positive comments. There was speculation that it was the Church of Scientology. There was speculation that maybe Linkin Park paid somebody off to do that. What was interesting to me was a lot of the sort of like sticking your head in the sand about it that was going on with the fan base. There were a lot of people who were like, well, her family's into Scientology, but I don't think she is. And then people were even twisting it to try to say that their first single was an anti-Scientology song. She's never said that. That's just your fucking take from the song. But I guarantee you, this motherfucker hasn't put out any anti-Scientology anything. She hasn't said shit about it one way or the other. So considering her entire family's in it, when she was apologizing for having even gone to the Masterson trial, she said, oh, some people told me to go. Well, who would tell her other than the Church of Scientology? Their go-to thing is that they want celebrities to come out and represent the church in public. And she was out there. What the fuck was she doing there if she's not down with Scientology still on some level? There's nothing, it's not illegal to be a Scientologist. It's fine. But don't bullshit yourself that it's not the case. Another funny one is I saw people saying, listen, dude, she didn't replace Chester. She's an addition to the band. Let's say we work on an assembly line, a cheese sandwich assembly line. And I am the dude who slaps the fucking first layer of cheese down. Let's say I do it for 20 something fucking years. Everyone knows me, Rocky the cheese guy. And fucking after those 20 years, I die. Let's say God forbid, I get some sort of venereal disease and I fall over dead. And people are like, man, nobody slapped that fucking cheese down like Rocky. We are never replacing Rocky. But somebody has to be hired to slap the fucking cheese down. Whoever is hired to slap the cheese down is my replacement, whether you want to admit it or not. Emily Armstrong in the new Linkin Park shows that are going on all over the country, when she comes out, she does Chester's parts. By definition, that means she is replacing Chester. In the new songs, she's the screamer. That was Chester's job. She is Chester's replacement. Don't bullshit yourself. No, she's just an addition. If she does all the shit he did, she has replaced him. It's okay. It's okay to just say that. We hide behind technicalities and language like it's even real. It's not real. She replaced Chester. It is what it is. You either like it or you don't. Anyways, that's going to go ahead and do it for us. Have a fun and dark, but, generally safe time. You want to live beyond Halloween. For those of you who enjoy the show, for those of you who support the show, I would say please go to killrockradio.com, where we do have a bit of merch up. We've got an awesome Kill Rock Radio koozie. It's got our sick-ass logo on it. And here, as we make the turn into the cold part of the year, you get your frosty beverage, whether it's a beer, it's one of these delicious THC seltzer fucking things or whatever. Throw it up in there and you can go outside, keep your little sweet-ass fingers warm while you're taking it to the head and getting all fucked up. Or just having a Coke or some shit. I mean, you could do that too. But if you're about that life is all I'm saying. You can get one of those. Also, there's a sticker that's up there. It's an awesome devil's head that I illustrated myself. You can get that, and it's a 3x3 sticker. Buy that. All the money goes right back into the channel. So if you want to support the show, that is the best way to do it. As I said, killrockradio.com. Go there, grab your merch. It's all affordable, and it all helps out the show. So thank you guys very much for that. Once again, for those of you who want to get at us, info@killrockradio.com, or simply get up in our DMs, comment on our videos and all that shit, and we will get back to you in some way, shape, or form. Thank you guys so very much. Until then, we will keep this conversation going next time. I will talk to you crazy motherfuckers later. Peace.
Got any questions or comments? Send them to info@killrockradio.com. To keep up with the latest and catch up on past interviews and clips, search Kill Rock Radio on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to Kill Rock Radio wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm like, oh my God, just listen to it already. Wherever you listen to podcasts.